Two. Okay, good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you to our June 24th HUUSD board meeting. My name is Caitlin Hollister, and I'm the chair of the Harwood Unified Board. Please note that tonight's meeting will be available on Mad River TV, as well as on our website. Tonight's board packet is online at huusd.org/board. If you look to the right and scroll down to see the 2019-2020 packets, tonight's is the first link. When we meet in person, we typically use a speaker list and call on folks in the order they sign up. In our online meetings, I will ask interested speakers to click on the raise hand button or *9 on your phone, and I will repeat your name to indicate that I've recorded it. I will then choose names out of a hat if necessary, offering each speaker up to 3 minutes to address the board. I hope you will consider making your remarks concise in order to allow us to hear as many voices as possible. If you have more to share with us that does not fit within this time frame, we invite you to email the board with your thoughts or to speak at public comment during a future board meeting. That way you can be sure all of your ideas have been heard by the board, even if there was not time to include them all during this public comment period. Please know that we will not respond to public comments, but we will be listening carefully. If I indicate your time is up, please end your remarks as we will be moving on to the remaining business of the meeting. At the end of the public comment section, I will offer any clarifying remarks if I can quickly address any of the topics raised. Thank you for taking the time to join us this evening. At this time, please click on the raise hand button if you would like to make a comment, and if you are calling by phone, press *9. So I have Brian and I have Maureen. Right. Brian, why don't you, whoops, let me make sure I'm enabling you to speak. And
okay.
You should go ahead. All right, I'm setting my timer. Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, thank you. I was hoping I could change the way I address you, but you haven't changed your destructive actions. Until you do, I won't stop.
It's very hard to hear you.
I'm speaking to the 9 people. Is that better?
That's much better. Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Speaking to the 9 people who voted to retain Bridget, you've rehired an employee who has lied about significant safety issues and has an outstanding credible accusation of racial insensitivity. She has shown major insensitivity in other actions, so it's not unreasonable to believe this is true. She has a reputation for retaliating against employees who challenge her and has a vote of no confidence from 3 of the 6 towns in the district. She tried to shut down Mecca when it was getting started. She even lied about me in an email. 1 town is considering withdrawing from the district. Is this the best you can do to hire someone as superintendent? Actually, it may be, considering how you have damaged the district so badly that nobody of quality is willing to work here. It's a pretty low bar. You received letters from 187 people asking you not to rehire her and 12 asking you to keep her. That's 15-1 asking you not to extend her contract. Once again, you have spit in the face of the community. There will be no chance of unity in this district until Bridget is gone. Caitlin, you are foolish and insulting to talk about unity. The words you wrote in the Valor Reporter are completely contradicted by your actions. This board continues implementing the pre-K through 12 plan, which the district voted down in the first budget. This cabal is like Trump and the Republicans who block changes desired by the majority of the country. You are like Trump forcing his rally on Tulsa despite being asked not to, and risking harm to many people just to satisfy your ego. What happened to honest representation? You are not serving the people you're elected to represent. This is why I call you corrupt politicians. Rosemary, Christine, and Jeremy, you constantly betray the people you are supposed to represent. In addition, 3 members had a clear appearance of conflict of interest and refused to recuse themselves. 187-12, and you ignored that. Your pre-K through 12 plan is still pursuing the illegal closing of the middle school, truncating the 5th and 6th grade at Moortown, and closing Facein Elementary, all of which were soundly rejected in the first budget fail. Caitlin and Tari, are you still confused about why it failed? Because nobody else is. You have created, quote, anxiety, fears, and tears, end quote, in the students in this district. Why can't you just back off and let us get through this pandemic without creating more chaos, anxiety, and pain? This Bridget cabal is trying to implement a fear-based, austere, and contractive restructuring. Is that how you want to teach our students to live? I and many others prefer a creative, life-affirming, and expansive approach. How about stopping your bullying and giving that a chance?
Maureen, go ahead. Oh, I'm going to need to get you first. Here we go. And go ahead if you can unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you, Maureen. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Thanks. I'm just making a comment about the racism issues. In May of 2019, I was on the school board when we were contacted by a parent who was frustrated that our school climate survey was racially insensitive. Some of us sent responses, but all of us missed, or maybe chose not to see, something bigger. We missed the clear undertones of a struggle that this mother was having that day, every day, with her child of color in our schools. My complicity in letting it slide a year ago has been weighing heavily on me for the last 2 weeks. I'm thankful to that mother for being willing to hear from me, for accepting my apology, and for connecting with me again. This connection and a few others have turned into an odyssey of sorts that I now find myself on. It's been an emotional journey, and I want to give you a brief overview of the stories I have heard. But first, I want to be clear that I'll be telling you about 6 situations. All 6 occurred in the past 5 years. They occurred in 3 different schools in our district, and all of them were known by people in positions of power, building principals, the superintendent, and even in one case, a school board chair. They show a pattern of awareness and also inaction over years. I would like to share a quote from one of the parents I spoke with. She said, "Now all of a sudden the schools are responding and it doesn't feel authentic." To underscore her point, she told me that what her friend said to her. Her friend said, "I hate to say nothing ever changes, but nothing will change." And this is what I think we need to understand as we embark on trying to solve this big issue in our community. We need to understand that many impacted families have already felt shut down multiple times by our system. They already feel unheard and unseen. They are already exhausted, and some have already left our schools. Some are downright angry about what feels like a PR move on the part of the school system that shut them down before. And the fact that some of the very people who were involved in their frustrating interactions in the past are the ones leading the charge now. What we do as a district right now at this very moment is critical. We need to build better environments for people of color in our schools and community, but we also need to help the people who have felt wronged already in the past. We need to help them heal and let that healing take whatever form is needed for each family. At the very least, we can start by recognizing, by seeing the hurt we've already caused. Now I'm going to recount the 6 experiences very quickly. I'm aware this list may be taking me a bit over 3 minutes, but I respectfully ask you to let me finish the list out of respect for these families.
Maureen, you only have 15 seconds, and I would welcome any family to speak with us or contact us.
Really?
Maureen, you've been in this role. I don't enjoy doing it. I have to respect it for everyone. And there are so many stories on many topics. I will give you the rest of your time. Please go ahead.
Okay, I will not go into some of the ones that are more public. I'll talk about the friend who told me that a child directed a racial slur toward her Black child. Administrators knew, didn't do anything. I'll tell you about the parent who had a protracted and racially charged bullying issue involving her son in one of our middle schools in 2015. She sent a letter to with copies to the principal, superintendent of schools, Waterbury Duxbury chair at the time, and the Vermont Board of Education. I'll tell you about the mother of the family of color who told me that in 2017 she asked.
That is time. I think that what you're sharing tonight shows the importance of the work that is on our agenda this evening as well. And I don't think any of us doubt that there is much more to share. There are more stories to tell, and there is much, much work ahead. So thank you for sharing your thoughts. And I'm going to go ahead to Life. And Life, once I've clicked, you're going to need to unmute.
Got it.
Okay, thanks. And make sure to speak in. You're a little bit faint.
All right, my name is Life Lagueros. I live in Duxbury. I sent a letter in today. I hope folks have a chance to review it. I have been studying this for some time. I have a doctorate. I'm an educator. I wrote the blog post that the superintendent forwarded to you on behalf of the group from Harwood that said it was the best resource they've seen out there. And I'll tell you what, I mess up all the time. I do racist stuff and have racist ideas because I'm a white man and that's my limitation. And I do harm and I seek to repair it. And this is what I'm coming to tonight to just say, please approach this issue in a different way. Because if you approach it the same way, we're going to be back in the same place. You need to bring humility and you need to focus on learning. And that learning is a different kind of learning than you've done ever before. It's an internal learning, it's a journey. And in my letter, you'll see that I cite the harm that our community has caused and that all of us are complicit in, including me. I worked at CrossFit Brook as a partnership through my job at UVM. And I've heard from what Maureen was just saying and from others, there is a deep problem in our community. Like systemic racism, interpersonal racism, this is all over our country, but whew, it's bad here. We have to face this. There is harm that has been done and that we are all part of. Humility and learning. Approaching it humbly by saying, we need to have a healing process as a community. We need to figure out what's going on, and we're not going to be able to do it. The white people on this board are not going to be able to do it. We need to figure out a way to regain trust of the community members of color and students. And I'll tell you right now, this superintendent is not going to help us do it. And certainly the symbolic act of renewing it months before you needed to was a mistake. And I urge you to go back on that tonight and say, we're not going to renew the contract yet. Take the renew off the table and revisit it in August. You don't even have to do it till September. Because that's offensive to people in this community who have been harmed and people who have expertise in equity and anti-racism. The learning part, as I detail in my letter, this needs to happen for all of us. And you could start this and lead this. You could invest and have an organization of color come in this summer and work with you. Deep work, internal work, understanding racism, understanding white dominant culture. It's complex stuff. And I'm, like I said, I mess up all the time and I'm on the journey right now. I've been on it for over a decade.
We're almost at time, Life.
Yeah, and I just want to say that you could have admin as mandated for this training, and all of you could join voluntarily, And you could invite select boards as well, because we have a problem in our community and it needs to start with leadership doing the learning. And then you could go to teachers, we could have some community conversations, etc. So I'll just say that I have heard from educators all over Vermont who right now in this moment are saying, is something going to change? Can we really do this together? Like, what can I do? Can I do this? Are we going to do it together? And I just say that you folks are in a position of power and privilege, and you have that choice right now in this pivotal moment to be anti-racist and to lead us all into a new transformed future. I really think, I've talked to you, Caitlin talked to me for an hour and a half the other night. And I just want to say to all of you, you can do this. We're behind you. You just have to humility and learning and make a change. And please read
I've got to cut it. Thank you, Life. I know that this will be a conversation.
I want to expand the timing because 3 minutes goes quick.
It does. Thank you. Kim, will you go ahead, please?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for hearing me. I just wanted to point out that as a parent of 3 kids in the district, I am really, really concerned that almost a quarter of our kids feel actively unsafe at Harwood Middle and High School, and 30% apparently feel unsafe at Warren, and only 12% can say they actually feel safe emotionally at Harwood. The best anybody else gets to is neutral. And that is incredibly troubling to me, incredibly troubling. And I hope the board will look at that, because 2 of my kids have left different schools because they were treated horrifically, and it was incredibly painful. And I'm not the only one. So please look at that closely. Thanks.
Thank you, Kim. I also just want to make sure that I have everyone's name for the record. I had Brian Fleischer of Waitsfield, Maureen McCracken of Waterbury, Life Lagueros of Duxbury, and Kim Laidlaw of Fayston. So please indicate if I didn't have that correct. I think that concludes our public comments. So I want to thank you all. And again, I know how far the time limit is and how many conversations we do still need to have. I'm going to move on to what we have this evening. And much of what's been raised this evening is relevant to tonight's agenda. I'm first going to be looking to approve tonight's agenda from the board. So are there any changes to tonight's agenda? Otherwise, I would ask for us, let's see, I have to go back to my panelists. Christine, go ahead.
Yes, I was just going to make a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, I just see Kelly as well. Is there something that you want? No?
Yeah, I was wondering, Caitlin, if you could I had a clarifying question around, because I know that Katrina had asked for Mecca to be on the agenda. Could you just share your personal email with the rest of the board so they're abreast on that situation, please?
Very, very good. Yeah. So we did have an inquiry about some admin items related. Thank you. Thanks for the reminder. I'll make sure everyone's up to date and everything is in check. Thanks. But I don't think I necessarily need a motion, Christine. What I would say is if there are no objections, we can approve tonight's agenda. So I would ask now if there are any objections. That I see a hand. Okay, so seeing no objections, we will move on with tonight's agenda. That brings us to tonight's consent agenda. Christine, is your hand still up? Okay. Do I have
a motion? My hand's up.
Okay, thank you. Do I have any objections to tonight's consent agenda? Let me just.
I do.
Okay, I see Kelly and then I see Teresa. Go ahead, Kelly.
I was just going to ask if we could table the contract.
Are you asking for both contracts to be removed from the consent agenda?
Yes.
Both the support staff and the superintendent.
Particularly the superintendent.
Okay, so I want to make it clear, so we will go through a motion then to approve the consent agenda after removing the superintendent's contract, which we would take up at the next order of business.
Don't we need a motion? Don't we have to vote on the motion to remove it from the consent agenda?
No, we have been allowing that to go with one request. Teresa, did you have another item?
No, I was going to ask the same thing.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Is there anyone opposed to approving tonight's consent agenda after removing the superintendent's contract? Teresa, are you opposed?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to get my screen down.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I'm going to have Tari mark everyone as approving consent agenda after removing the contract, the superintendent's contract. Okay, hearing no other changes, that will pass. What I am going to do then is I'm going to ask us to move that contract into the next order of business, and that will bring us to an executive session. And so I would ask us to enter into executive session for the purpose of discussing an employee's contract, because doing so in public session will clearly place that employee at a substantial disadvantage. I see Christine, are you making that motion?
Yes.
Second.
Sure, second,
Okay.
thank you. So what I want to indicate to the members of the public is we will, as board members, be leaving this meeting. The meeting will still stay active, and we will return and resume this meeting after this executive session is complete.
You do need to vote to go into executive.
Caitlin?
I'm sorry, we do need to vote. Thank you. Teresa, go ahead.
Caitlin? Yeah, can I make a request to table this to later in the meeting so that we can have back-to-back executive sessions and hopefully have more people, the public? Can we move forward with the rest of our agenda and move this towards the end of the meeting so that more public can be part of it, so they don't have to wait for us to have that other discusussion?
I don't expect this to be a long one, so I am going to ask us to take care of it now so that we can come right back and update them. Because I think this is also something that a lot of people have attended the meeting to hear about. So I wouldn't want them to have to stay on if this is the topic that they're most interested in and that they thought would be taken care of at the outset.
Fair enough.
So is there anyone opposed to entering executive session? Okay, hearing no opposition, I am going to ask board members to move off of this call, and you will be needing to check your email for an invite from Tari, and she will start that as a separate Zoom call. Thank you.
To see right in our own backyard.
Yeah, and the cool thing we've learned over the last couple of months, I think, is that not only are we reliant on our